Welcome to another edition of Bleav in Giants. Bob Papa, two-time Super Bowl champion, Carl Banks. All right, so we put the Arizona game to bed, and now the task at hand is the San Francisco 49ers. Now, they're 2-0. They average 175 yards rushing a game, or 173, whatever. What's 2 yards between friends? McCaffrey's gone over 100 yards each of the first two games. I know it's a short week, so it's tough on both teams. But, Carl, the Giants are going to be tested and tested and tested this week because they're going to have to prove that they could stop the run.
Well, that is a known fact around the league that between McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel, they're going to be an all-day struggle. What this Giant defense has to do is play assignment football. And then when you play assignment football, you've got to be able to make tackles because these guys don't go down. McCaffrey doesn't go down. Deebo Samuel is just a bull. But if you play your assignment, even when they block it perfect, there's going to be a guy free to the ball to make some plays. When you look at their game against Pittsburgh, yes, they were just better than Pittsburgh, but there are many occasions where Pittsburgh set the edge, the second level defenders, occupy blockers, and then there's a guy coming up, a safety coming up from the secondary, or even a linebacker who's filling a hole who just doesn't tackle. And then once that tackle is broken, because I guess what they're saying to their back, hey, we can block 7 of them. The 8th man that comes down, he's your responsibility. Telling the runner that this guy coming up that's free is your responsibility. You make him miss, we're off to the races. And they've done that successfully for the last couple of years. But when you have the opportunity, and this is what I say, teams that have to be good tacklers, but when you play assignment football, then make that one guy have to be your one guy, because then you can rally to the football. But when you have done too much, trying to do more than your assignment calls for, you create leverage problems for your defense. And then you get a lot of guys washed out and you see these big gaping holes. But when you look at how the Pittsburgh Steelers were playing that game, they had some plays that were perfect. They had a guy trailing and a guy in the hole. Well, the guy trailing pulls up and the guy in the hole misses a tackle. On a few occasions, that can happen. So if everybody does their job and it's a draw, then there's going to be a guy that's free to make a tackle. And the sooner he gets to the line of scrimmage to make that tackle, the easier it's going to be, because open field is a much tougher task to bring either Deebo or McCaffrey down.
Yeah, and I mean, and they test you on every level, right? I mean, you got those guys, you got the short passing game with Deebo where he's running through the middle of the field. Then you have, listen, Ertz was able to make a bunch of plays against the Giants on Sunday. Well, they got a younger, better version of him in George Kittle, who can absolutely wreck a game. And then when they want to, like in week 1, when they want to go up top, Brandon Ayuk is a guy that brings speed, and he can slash through a defense. So, they got to be sound on every single level and be sound on every snap, because they put that much pressure on you as an offense with all the different ways that they can hit you.
Right. So the task or the challenge is not to be ready mentally. I think this team is mentally tough, but where it wears on you is your mental endurance. When they're constantly pounding you, they're constantly challenging you mentally to do your assignment, or else it's going to be a big play. So they've got to be, like I said, if they just do their assignments, it's 11 on 11. You do your assignment and give yourself a chance. If you try to do more, it's just going to create a problem for another part of your defense. And then the rest of it is just football. But listen, I don't think the 49ers by any imagination will be a pushover. If you win it, you're going to have to go in there and you're going to have to fight tooth and nail to the end of the game. But is it a game they can win? Yeah, they got to do a lot of things right, and they got to get a few breaks. That's the reality of it. 49ers are a championship team off of a win where, yeah, their character and their grit got them through that game. But let's not be confused. Arizona Cardinals are nowhere close to the 49ers. And so they're going to have to be that from the start. Whatever they were in the second half, they've got to be that from the start against San Francisco. And they got to be able to have the mental endurance to sustain it for the entire game. And then, when the Giants are on offense, 49ers, they sometimes only rush 4 people because they're just that good. They don't have to blitz a lot. They've got good coverage linebackers. But the one thing that Daniel Jones will have to do is get the ball out of his hands. Again, I used the Pittsburgh Steelers as an example because watching that game, did a lot of things right. Their quarterback held the ball too long on some occasions. They missed opportunities. Daniel Jones got to make good decisions, and the ball's got to be out of his hands. And they'll keep the chains moving, and they'll have some play. There are plays to be made on the 49ers, but they do a lot of things with their 4 guys up front, and each one of those guys individually can win the battle. But when they start to move those guys around and do those twists, you got to be able to communicate. And again, it's assignment football. Just do your assignment.
Yeah, I mean, listen, as of this recording, we don't know what the status of Saquon Barkley is, but let's be honest. He's probably not going to play in this game based on the way he went off the field the other night. I doubt we're going to see him. Andrew Thomas is nursing this hamstring, so I highly doubt we're going to see him, even though he's with the team on the trip. And then Bredesen got the concussion. So, it's going to be a lot of mixing and matching, trying to piece this whole thing together. And you're right, Bosa can wreck the game. Fred Warner is an outstanding linebacker. They have 6 sacks. I think they have 4 interceptions already through the first 2 weeks of the season. So, I mean, that's a tall order in playing this football game. But I think you're 100% right. They got to play with like a lot of grit, resolve, and determination and make it as ugly a game as they can possibly make it. Kind of like what New England did against Philadelphia in week 1. And they can't turn it over, that's for sure.
No, you can't turn it over, and just be, sustain your mental focus, because it's you're going to get hit. The player, they're a very physical team. They're a championship caliber team, and you got to match that, your toughness, but you got to be mentally sharp, and you got to execute when the plays are there to be executed, because I'm sure from the 49ers standpoint, they're going to skip over the Cardinals game. They'll go straight to the Dallas Cowboy game and see what Dallas was doing to get Daniel Jones off his game, to see if they can get him in that headspace again as well.
And the Giants are going to have to take some shots, right? I mean, this is a better secondary than they played last week against Arizona, but you can't play so scared where you're not taking shots, right?
Oh, listen. The Giants have nice things at the wide receiver position. They've got speed. They don't have last year's wide receiver core. They got legitimate speed guys. And the 49ers, their corners and safeties are not going to line up and say, well, this is going to be an easy day. Right. They're hoping that their defensive front can get enough pressure so they don't have to cover some of these guys or cover these guys for a long time, because this is a speed group. And if they can get vertical, and Daniel Jones can deliver the football, they'll have some success.
And Jones's legs, like they were on Sunday against Arizona, I mean, that's part of the Giants' offense, whether he's avoiding pressure and then turning it into a positive play or some design runs. That's all part of the equation to sort of keep Pittsburgh, keep San Francisco a little off balance. The Niners, in the first 2 weeks, haven't played quarterbacks that run as much as Daniel Jones. Obviously, last week against Stafford, that's definitely not part of the game plan. So that does put some pressure on the edges of the San Francisco defense, which should open some things up over the middle, I would think.
Well, yeah, but then there's something to be gleaned from the Rams game, too, because that was a close game all the way down to the fourth quarter. So there are plays to be made against the 49ers, but you just can't make crucial mistakes.
Does it, when you see the Niners uniform, does it bring up some juices for you, considering all the great battles you had with them from your rookie season of '84 right on through to '90? It's got to get you a little fired up when you see that uniform.
You always get excited, Bob, when you're playing the 49ers, because when I played, and it's true today, if you have playoff or Super Bowl aspirations, you got to come to this team and beat them. They don't give it away, and they're extremely disciplined. So, yeah, I mean, I get excited because I knew the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow came through beating the 49ers.
All right, Carl. Looking forward to the game on Thursday night. As we always like to tell our fans, tell a friend to tell a friend. Make sure you subscribe to Bleav in Giants.